Hey, this is Cory Kastle, and you're listening to the Three Count Podcast.
Yeah, when the sun goes down, i.e., Nick Dog.
By now, if you're hearing this intro, that means one thing. This is now entering 201. And you know who I am. I am Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, which I like to think I am, it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering? You can find this man at UWC, DCW. You can find this man at H2O. You can find this man at AAW. You can find this man up and down. Or you can check out his podcast called Evolving. You guys know him. You guys see him. He's right there. He is Cory Kastle.
Thank you. Hello today.
What's up, man? It's
Good
been a while.
moment. Good moment. Things are great. Things are swell. How are you?
Doing great, man. It was funny because like seeing you at the Wrestling Independent, and I was like, "Oh, it's Cory," and then we ran into each other at like right before that we had ran into each other at Atlantic All Star Wrestling, and I was like, "Cory," so I was like super hyped to see you again, and then yeah, it just felt like we never like left off like we hadn't seen each. I think we
Yeah.
hadn't seen each other like a year or so.
This is my favorite thing about some friends, because some friends, you catch up with them, and it's like no time had gone past, like no time had gone by since the last time that you caught up. And that's
Right.
how I feel when you and I hang out and when you and I catch up. And it's the same thing, same thing with a couple of your friends. Same thing with Nick. It's
Yeah.
it's the same exact thing where it's like so much time can go by. We can know each other for a decade and spend 4 years apart at a time. And when we catch back up, it's like no time had passed.
Right.
Except for like maybe you have more kids now, or like maybe you, or maybe like I'm getting married now.
Yeah.
Big
Or
big life events.
I have a whole different dog now because
Yeah.
the one thing I think about was like such a significant part of my life was actually being on Evolving was the last night that I was spending with my dog.
Oh,
And
that's that
yeah.
that's the timestamps that I talk about, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the little like little time capsules that the episodes. And that's what's so fascinating to me, because like that's part of why I call it evolving, because it's like you're gonna be a different version of yourself as the show goes on.
Yeah.
So like the version of me that started the show wasn't in 2017. I was 33 years old, uh, and I can go back and listen to the timestamps and be like, oh, this is when I was living here and I was going through this relationship thing, or I was with this person and this is the thing that was going on, or I was having this fight with my brother, or I was having this fight with my friend, and this drama was going on with my family, and blah blah blah. And then I can kind of reverse engineer through context where I was in life
Yeah.
and where I was in my coping mechanisms. Where I was in my self motivation, my visions for who I wanted to be and what I wanted to uh, say or do to inspire people. Even listening back to my old stuff, which is it's not a thing I do frequently, but it'll be like listening back to my old stuff. I get like motivated by certain things. I go like, oh, I was this type of person. I wanted to be more like the type of person I am now. And
Yeah.
that inspired me to continue to record these. Because I go like, well, like sometimes it feels a little thankless, and sometimes it feels a little like a tree falling in the woods. Like it's not as overly interacted with as I'd like it to be. But like it's it's leading me to it's like therapy for me in a way. Like I I'm jumping into the therapy aspect of things. Like I have been in therapy for I have been in therapy for like the last 5 6 years, off and on probably for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But this time this time the therapist was You know, um, when I say "How's it going?" that's more like a salutation, not as much an invitation for you to then tell me everything about your boyfriend and about your son and about your house and about
Yeah.
how you the people who are doing construction on your house are stealing from you. I don't need to know. I'm not being paid to talk to you about your problems. However, you are being paid to talk to me about my problems and help me do the work. I'm not I'm not licensed to help you do the work. I mean, I will. I mean, I I'm nice enough to sit by and let that
Yeah.
happen. But like at this time, they said to me that the office was closing, and I had to like call all these numbers and try to seek out new counselors through my insurance. But I've been dragging my feet on that a little bit for the last couple of weeks because I just uh, I, it's the whole process of like opening up this like heart thing and like telling everybody your story and where you came
Yeah.
from, and then you have to wipe it clean and do it all over with another person, and then it gets then they go, oh, the office is closing, sorry, whoops, and they're like, what about all that work I was doing? Like
Yeah. No,
it's
I feel you because like
happened a few times to me now.
yeah, I feel you because like I'm on the same boat because like I we've talked about on the show, we've talked about here, we've being former military, like I've been through counseling like in and out, and like finding a new counselor and having to reopen up, and then you're talking about these old wounds that were going on and that you thought you were over, but they're not quite over. But then they're like, well, our like in the military, this is a shitty thing, and I'm hoping that, and I know not to get political, right? But I'm hoping that the man currently in office can fix this shit, right?
Hope so.
But one thing that really pisses me off is that with the VA, especially in the mental health department, you're only allowed 12 sessions, and then you got to leave the program. And then if you have the same problem, which
How
most of
much
us
work
do,
can you get done in 12 hours? Like
yeah, you're
you got
back in there all over again. So I'm
you
like,
got a
yo,
lifetime's worth of heavy lifting to do.
right,
Uh, and then you got the obstacle of introducing yourself and getting comfortable enough with a new person,
yeah,
comfortable enough to open yourself up when you're already somebody who's used to kind of guarding yourself because the
right,
real world doesn't understand you.
right. And so
Right.
like then you get handed to another person, then you're 12 weeks out of that program, then you're back into another program for 12 weeks, and you're meeting a new counselor, and you're trying to get over all this other stuff. And then like for me, being diagnosed with PTSD as well as like anxiety, having an anxiety disorder, like I'm trying like my best to kind of like open up, and like I today, like we're literally as we timestamp this, I just started with a new counselor. So I hear like what you're saying. I'm like,
To look back on
right.
in another 5 years, and you'd say, "Hey, yeah, I started on it." It's funny every time you and I are talking, there's something monumental happening adjacent to that.
Yeah.
Like
It is
we're
wild though. It is
yeah,
so wild though, because it's like, yeah, you have to open up and you get to talk to somebody, and sure, like maybe they got a different solution for you to how to get through your problems, right? But it's like, they're like, well, like when you're first meeting, it's pretty much like an interview. Like they're asking you questions like, hey, how are you doing with this? And how did this make you feel? And do you ever feel this? And how'd you get through this problem? How'd you get through that problem? It's like, bro, like I want to fast forward through all this bullshit and get to the part that matters.
I mean, I'm very much in the habit of like I've had my methods of coping with things, and have I have a very evolved way of thinking. Of course, the show's evolving. I have a very evolved way of thinking. So, like when a counselor's talking to me, and I've had multiple counselors say to me, like, "You don't need me." Like they think that I've got it more figured out than they do, or something. Like they're like, "Well, I don't know if I can do anything for you. Like you seem good." Like yeah, I know I seem good. I know I'm like I I just listen to this theory. I've asked and I've pleaded for us all to agree that we're going to stop comparing ourselves to other people and stop looking at people and thinking they've got it all figured out. Like go, oh, that person's got a really good job. They got lots of money. They got a car. They got a family. They got a house. Like they must have everything figured out. The way I look at it, birds,
Yeah.
some of them still get hit by cars. They got the entire sky. It's not that easy to figure everything out.
You know, that's a good way to put it, though. It's like some of us are a little low hanging fruit. You know what I mean? Like, I think about that. Yeah, yeah. We all grow on this big ass apple tree, and some of us are still trying to figure out like how not to fall off the fucking tree.
Right. Some of our fruit is hanging lower than the rest of
Yeah.
ours.
And I think about that too, like, sure, like, and they throw out solutions. And I think this probably is part of my therapy is like being able to come on here and like find friends who also have like their own problems. And it's
Yeah.
not like this show is only meant for like mental health, because like that's not the whole point of Now Entering 201. But it is one of the big aspects is like as you're growing and continuing to, crazy enough, we're gonna be including this, evolve, right? In your journey as a pro wrestler, like mental health is such a big aspect to it, because like the one thing that you worry about all the time is like, am I doing enough? Am I disappointing somebody? Am I trying to figure out how to proceed, like, in like asking about bookings? Am my character set up correctly? Do I have good graphics? Do I have do I have the heel side of me down? Do I have the face side of me down? Like, am I doing the right moves at the right time? What's the psychology? And you have all this stuff that's going on. And then sometimes if you wrap yourself too much in the world of wrestling, like your brain cracks. And then you're
Can
just like,
can I unbox that from my perspective a
yeah,
little bit? Because I know you were older when you got into the wrestling
yeah,
business, and the wrestling business had been already evolved to a point where like you needed to worry about graphics. That's not something. I was 14 years old when I got into the wrestling business. That was like you had VHS tapes. There was no such thing as YouTube. Um, and my first match that I ever came to the ring, my theme song was on a cassette tape. Like I had to queue up a cassette tape on my first match. This was I'm gonna say this was '99 or something. So I mean that's I found my first wrestling training center in the newspaper like that. I found pro wrestling through a newspaper article when I in the Bucks County Courier Times when I was 14 years old.
For some of
So
you who don't know, a newspaper is a thing that you could put like quarters into like a little machine, and you could pull out this thing and you can grab this paper, and it had things in there like news articles, and then some parts it would have like the
some
funny
people
section.
know what a newspaper is because the guy on the bicycle's throwing them at their house.
Yo, this is true. A cassette tape is a cassette deck like this. It had a little ribbon through it, and it played music. You could also rewind it with a pencil.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, so going through that part and like the vision that I had because I was still a boy. Like did like I didn't know what kind of wrestler I was going to be. I didn't picture like I think if I had to picture what I'd wind up being would be this. I'd want to look like this. I'd want to work like this. I'd want to like be on this level. I mean, not this. Of course, I want to be a higher level than this as far as like paydays and stuff are considered, concerned. But
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't think I knew much. I was still figuring out my own self. Like I was finding my identity and finding wrestling at the same time. So all those things compile them with finding out who I am.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I didn't get contact lenses till I was 16. So I had really bad eyesight and I had no peripheral vision. I had, I didn't discover that until now. I just thought about that. And I was like, whoa, I've just realized that like I didn't know what like I couldn't like look around and know what the world looked like.
Right.
So I found wrestling before I found the world.
It is weird to think though, but as we like as we start off and then we continue to to mold and bend and evolve and grow and push and pull, try to figure out new things, like and I'll be fair, like I had to kind of move quick in the bit. I didn't have time to sit back and be like, yo, let me let me try some things out here that might be fun. And I had to actually like I came in, I had to get a character together, and I was like, all right, we're gonna try to move this character. And obviously, they evolve, they change, they grow, right? Like I when I first started, I didn't have this. I didn't have a full beard. Like it's just like I think it was like very clean shaven. And now like
You wear the mask a lot?
I didn't yeah, I did wear the mask, yeah. And I have
Yeah.
a couple of them now too. Like I have like
Mhm,
4 or 5 now. I don't have just the one.
mhm.
So it's like, again, it goes back to like, how do I want to make this character move? And in some places, like he's a heel now. So how do I get him to be more heelish? What kind of personas do I want to pull from? Like, and I go back and I watch so much media outside of just like wrestling to like find stuff. And I find random things all the time in like random places. Like I'll give an example, right? And then for those who are watching this and we're at New World Wrestling Extreme in Rhode Island
Uh,
uh, on the
isn't
the
isn't that
eighth.
where you are now? Don't you live
I live
you
in
live in
the New England
you live
area.
in now, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Damn, that's another thing that's changed.
yeah,
That's another
yeah.
big thing.
It was in Massachusetts or in Maryland when we first did when we did Now Into the Ring and we did Evolving. I was there. Um, but yeah,
And,
so I was working and I looked at the crowd and the crowd was like trying to get behind the baby face and they're like clapping along. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, y'all look like a bunch of sea lions. Just might as well make the sound too and just be like, R, 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 R. And somebody asked me, they're like, where did you hear that? It was like, that show called Special Forces on CBS. Like,
mhm.
that's where I heard it. I was like, this is a great thing to say to people. So I was like, we're going to use this and just steal it. And again, it adds to the
Yeah.
aura of Red Dog, who is special, like, former military, and then here I am watching the show about special operations, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna steal this line from them.
I the pro wrestling skews your idea of how you're gonna watch anything. Like, you watch anything and you go, "Okay, I'm taking that. Alright, I'm gonna use that in promo. I'm gonna use that in promo. I'm gonna use" like, "Oh, I'm watching this scene. I'm gonna take this scene and I'm gonna use it in a promo." Like, one of my favorite things I ever said in a promo, I took from Eminem,
Mm.
um, when he was like, "The the only difference between you and me is you think there's no difference between you and me."
I like that.
And I'm like, that is so exactly my character. That is exactly that's my brand. Like if I'm a heel, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm better than all of you. Like there's no question. Like it's not that I'm treating you like I think I'm better than you, because I really all the way deep down in my heart know it.
I think about that a lot too, where I'm like, I'm pulling from different medias, because I did a whole promo one time where it was like Steve from Blue's Clues. Like,
Mhm.
and I loved it because it was just something off the wall that I was just randomly wanting to do. And to have like actually Duke, when after he had passed away, I had him drawn up as a cartoon character, and then I just stuck him in the video. And like I would do the background sounds as Blue, so it would just be like, "Do you guys see Duke?" And then he'd like pop up like, "He's right there." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Bow, bow," and then, like, oh, and yeah, it was one of my favorite promos to do, and it was like to help like spur up like who my next opponent was for
The,
this
the
place called
funny
HCF.
the cyclical nature of existence and the world is yesterday. Last night, I came in the house and I was talking to Alyssa, my fiance, about Blues Clues, hardcore, and I had stuck in my head the Thinking Chair song, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I had to pull it up. I just pulled it up on my phone on YouTube and played the Thinking Chair song. Do you remember the Thinking Chair song?
Remember the Thinking Hair song.
So I had to sit down in my thinking chair and think, think.
I mean, it's funny like how we watch television or we watch a TV show or we watch whatever streaming platform you guys are watching, right? Netflix, Hulu, Max, whatever it is. But it is funny how we watch and then we're just like, oh, I like that. And then you just like pull it out. And I think back to like Bray Wyatt was talking about it, and there's a bunch of other guys too. But when they do their promos, they're listening to like old 70s music, and they're like, yeah, like the Grateful Dead, and they're like, yeah, there's so much like hidden like lyrics that you could just pull from that just makes it sound more mysterious than what it really is. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start doing this now. Like, you can start listening to like Deep Purple and just pulling from them because I just
I mean, some stuff like there's some really mystic themes to songs that would like fit perfectly for any Bray Wyatt promo.
right.
So he could just pull some random thought out of his head that happened to be something from like a 1970s song. I for the whole the Bhagavad Gita, like it's
Yeah.
like that I am become Death Eater of Worlds. That's where Bray Wyatt got that from, and that's like a it's like a we just pull the craziest stuff out of nowhere. Like to find out you where you were inspired by certain this or that or the other. Like it's super interesting.
Yeah.
Like you can't even walk through a store and not go, I could use that as a weapon in a wrestling match. I could use that as a weapon in a wrestling match. Like, there's just certain things and you're like, how could I apply this to pro wrestling?
Yep. I think about that a lot too, or I'll see
In your thinking
like
chair.
for me, yeah, my thing, which coincidentally is right here. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I'll sit back and I'll like watch, like I'll be watching like a TV show. Just recently I was like watching the new Daredevil series on Disney
Disney.
Plus, but
Uh-huh.
then like there's stuff that he's saying in there, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna use that in a promo sometime
Mhm.
here soon. Someone's gonna catch the reference, but also knowing that my character is a person that pulls from pop culture, like, and not just previous, like that's not current pop culture, but from like previous pop culture, and like just says what's on his mind, and you sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't, right? I know, like recently I was talking to a friend and I was like, as if, and they were just like, what the hell was that? It was like,
What are you clueless? What are you
yeah,
clueless? You know
we missing out, but like I was watching that. I was watching Clueless. I was watching Darkwing Duck recently, watching Gargoyles, like all of my favorite TV
let's
shows.
get dangerous.
Yeah,
That's
let's get
something to use in a promo class.
mhm.
Let's get let's get dangerous.
I was like, when you're in trouble, you call DW. I'm like, oh yes. But like I go back and like watching all these things that like I watched as a kid, and I was like, I bet I could pull like a lot of this.
I
And a
mean,
lot of
I don't think I could pull off saying, "You better watch out, you bad boys," but I think you could. I think you could get away with that.
probably, probably. And if you just say with enough confidence and belief,
Right.
people are gonna believe you too.
Dude, there is a level of coolness that I don't have, where, like, there's certain guys who can get away with just, like, calling other guys baby all the time. It
Yeah.
sounds like I'm pretending to be a gay dude when I do it, and it feels insulting, like, I'm like when guys be like, yo, hey, what's up?" And I'll be like, "Hey, baby. Hey, what's" like, it's the level of coolness I don't have. I'm alright with it. I'm alright with not having that level of cool. I
Yeah.
I
I
also
don't
can't
I
I
can't
can't
pull
sing,
that.
I can't dance, I can't hold up an umbrella in the rain, I just won't do it. There's just a part of me that goes like to me, holding up an umbrella in the rain is like pulling out lipstick and applying it in public. I just won't.
Yeah, I ain't gonna front because like my wife gets like the first time she ever watched me put on chapstick, like she just looked at me like, "Why do you know how to do that?" And I was like, first of all, it's like I'm just putting on chapstick, but I would do it like this, and I'm like, right. So she's like, "Why are you doing that?" She's like, "That's another thing that guys should know how to do." I was like, I don't know. I saw everybody else doing it, so I did it, and I just thought it was normal. It's
'Cause
like
I'm
I
a
didn't
bad
know.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I was like I didn't
Bad
know that was not a
motherfucker.
thing. But it goes back to like so like the world that you grow up in, right? You kind of want to bring that into like the wrestling world and kind of like your character and help mold it and mend it. Cause like the one thing everybody talks about, and it's funny because like I've heard it numerous times in different aspects, right? Some people will say your wrestling character is you kind of cranked up to an 11, like what you enjoy, right? But I've also heard on the other side too, where people were like, well, if your wrestling characters you cranked up to 11, you have a boring character. I'm like, I don't believe that. I was like, because I
Mhm.
see a lot of people who like amplify something that they like about themselves that they want, or something that they want to the audience to know about them, that they amplify to the max, right? Like some people, like I meet a lot of people outside of wrestling who are not a very big dick, right? But then like there are some people who are in the ring who want people to know, like, yeah, I can be an asshole when I want to be, and they do. But I'm like, I just find it funny that that aspect of psychology, especially for wrestling, is like, nah, you want to find someone that's completely not you, and like, well, then it's not genuine because sometimes some people have to force those things.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's it's got to also be organic. It can't be something that's like completely foreign to who you actually are. I mean, sometimes it can be, but it's like that's got to be living inside of you somewhere. Like it's got to be uh, part of your motivation. You have to have some other way of conveying that.
Right. Yeah, I
Like some
think.
people become their gimmicks. Uh, uh, Work yourself into a shoot, brother.
I mean, it's funny too because like I feel like wrestling, especially I've talked to a couple of like female wrestlers who, their wrestling character is everything that they wish that they could have been. But then like you start to see that swag come out of them when they're not in wrestling and they're just kind of like, yeah, this is who I am now. And it's like, cool. I like that aspect of you anyway. So I'm glad that you were able to finally pull that out of yourself. Cause like for
Right.
me, as far as like Red Dog goes, the one thing that I like about Red Dog is he never feels like he's disappointing anybody because he just is not. He doesn't care. He's just like, I'm going out there, I'm going to accomplish what I want to accomplish. I'm going to do what I got to do, and I don't care what people really have to say. On a real note, Cliff, though, in real life, really cares, and I really wish I could turn that switch off.
Dude, I think it was John Mulaney. Do you know John Mulaney?
Yeah.
He's like his wife told him he she walks around and doesn't care about other people's opinions, but he walks around and acts like he's campaigning to be the mayor of nothing. Like he just wants everyone to like him.
Yeah. That's me. That's me. I'm always like, and I got talked to at a wrestling promotion, and it's not a bad thing, right? People told me, they're like, "Man, I have not found one person who dislikes you." And that's a rare thing to find. And I'm like, "Well, that's great. That means that people know that I'm being genuine." I
Mhm.
wish I could disappoint people. I was like, sometimes I would be like, "You know what? I don't really care that you don't like me, or I don't really care that you do like me." Like I just it's hard though because it's one of those things that like you kind of want that uh what's the word I'm looking for? You kind of want that affirmation, and
Yeah.
it's so hard to like detach yourself from that. Be like, yeah, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and I'm gonna enjoy what I'm doing. What meanwhile, on the other side of me, I'm kind of like, no, I want to be friends with everybody.
I was in a locker room pretty recently with your trainer, and I was telling him about I was like, ask around about me. Anybody who has a problem with me in my 23 years of wrestling has that problem with everybody. I don't have problems with people. Like, ask me about anybody who I have a problem with. I'm not going to give you a list of names of people who I don't like because, like, I've moved on.
Yeah,
I'm done thinking about it. I'm done giving it energy. I'm 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 growing beyond. I'm growing beyond them. I'm evolving constantly.
yeah,
Uh, and I was having that conversation with Nick backstage at the show, and another guy heard me, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you have no heat with anybody in any locker room anywhere." And I was like, "Yeah, oh, yeah, you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah, f you, man." And he started doing like he started like coming at me like that, but he was totally joking. But
no, that's appropriate. I was like,
yeah,
I feel like you know, some people say like, dude, if you're not pissing off anybody, you're not doing anything right. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are doing the right things if they
well,
can go
there,
home and sleep well because they're not a shitty person.
um, so that same exact thing, I kind of want to flip it on its head for a second and say that there's a line in pro wrestling that we call kayfabe,
Yeah.
and kayfabe exists in that barricade that separates the fans from the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And on this side of the barricade, what we're doing should piss those people on that side of the barricade off.
Yeah.
But like if it's pissing other people off in the back because they can't separate a work from a shoot, um, they maybe need to go uh, meditate or something.
Go meditate. Yeah, that's a great way to say it, is go meditate. I think about it too. I mean, it's like I can agree with that point because like you're if guys in the back are having problems with you because you're getting too much heat, then learn to get heat too. Like that should work out. It should be fair. Like
I think a saying that I frequently have is someone else's success is not my failure.
right,
Uh, so like, dude, we could be on the same show and you could be the match before me or the match after me. We're not competition to each other.
right,
Like you and I will understand each other a lot more than some common person on the street who runs into us. You
right.
know what I mean? We have more similar struggles than most people, and can understand the sacrifice of getting into the pro wrestling business, which is very thankless and very pay to play, and it's really there's a lot of nepotism and a lot of friendships that like get people spots that they don't deserve, and push out talents who may deserve them.
Right.
And going back to that kayfabe and that barricade comparison that I was making, and this is probably why for the longest amount of time, and when I was coming up in the business, I don't know about if that ever happened with you, but when I was coming up in the business, this was the early 2000s, and they would talk to me about the the marking out line. So like pro wrestlers in my early days of getting into the business, pro wrestlers couldn't show up to an event wearing a shirt that had NWO on it or like DX or like any current TV wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
You'd automatically get called a mark and be shamed for it.
Yeah.
Like, so when you hear people say like, "Oh, you mark," and they'll say it in an insulting way, that's the way the word used to be weaponized, and it's not like that anymore. That's one of the growths that I've seen in the wrestling business that I really enjoyed. There's a whole lot of stuff that still needs updating, will eventually happen, hopefully. But I mean, it, it's all a toss of the dice at this point.
I remember when I was in a ring, I was training with Nick, a former WWE superstar saw me in what was Jericho's group in AEW before the
Just
Jericho's bef-
appreciators,
before that one,
the inner circle.
the Inner Circle. So I was in an Inner Circle T-shirt, the Guns N' Roses one, right?
Okay.
And uh, said former WWE superstar then told me that I was a mark in the ring. But then explained to me about how they also got called the mark too because they showed up to their first day of practice with the Hardy Boys necklace
Mhm.
and got made fun of for having it on. Because they're like, "Oh, you think that you're just gonna be like you're just gonna enjoy this, huh? Like this is gonna be your thing?"
A mutual friend of ours had a Hardy Boys tattoo on his chest
Mm,
and had to get it covered up.
mm,
So like he got shamed into covering up the mark out tattoo that he had previously to getting into the wrestling business.
yeah,
And I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but I'll talk to you off mic about it.
yeah. That's a shame too, because it's just like something that you absolutely love, and then people are just gonna make fun of you about it. And it's like, listen, like we all got into, and now it's not like that because I mean I see people all the time that have tattoos of like the Undertaker or like Rey Mysterio's mask, or like you'll see something with like Penta because I know he's relatively new, but new to WWE, but obviously he's been around for a long time. So I see people with Penta, or I see people with like Lita. I'm like, yo, okay, well, this is great. This is what was supposed to
I don't
happen.
see a lot of people with wrestling tattoos, honestly.
I see a lot of people with wrestling
Don't
tattoos.
you'd think I'd see more than I do, but I don't. And I think the same as you. I recently moved out of where I'm from, and the funny thing is, most people who I run into have no idea who I am. Like I don't know anybody anywhere that I go. It's a it's a whole new world now. I feel like a stranger around here. It's I wanted to kind of test these waters here and see how I felt about it, and it's not gonna be going like that forever. Everyone around me, everywhere I am, is gonna know who I am. I'm very aware of that. I'm very sure of it. I mean, I it's funny. Like I was at work yesterday, and somebody was like, "Oh, this guy's looking for you," and I was like, "I'm not hard to find. Look around. You're not
Yeah,
gonna find another dude walking around here that looks like me.
right.
Like, you just won't." Um, like I'm not arrogant about it, but I'm confident in the fact that like I'm not your average everyday Joe.
Right.
So like you know, I want to what I want to do with that mostly is inspire other people to do better or to like want more for themselves
Yeah.
or like to like put down their limiting beliefs on things because it's not like I woke like people see the results and they go, "Oh, that's what they're," then they automatically are jealous of the results. Going back to my bird thing, don't compare yourself to other people. The birds still get hit by cars. Uh, like if you saw where I was, if you saw who I was, if you saw what my body used to look like, if you saw the glasses that I used to wear, if you saw the haircuts that I used to have, like if you saw the painfully awkward dork who was in special ed, sweaty armpits on every shirt, only like two pairs of pants and rotated those every day, like I grew up poor white trash for sure, like dorky poor white trash, and like people would look at what they just see and then automatically make a snap judgment on that they know me and they know what kind of person I am
Right.
without without like without going like, hey man, like you and I probably relate to each other a lot more than you think we do.
Yeah.
But the major difference between us is you think there's no major difference between us.
It's funny though, man. I find a way to like I don't, it's funny because when it goes back to like think about people and like how people will move and maneuver, I'm always like, like let me just find like the basic ground that we can agree on, and then just go from there. Like I just look for it. You know, like if you're in a wrestling show, chances are everybody around you is a wrestling fan, some
Mhm.
kind of fan. If you're, it's funny because like my wife has this friend. She now works at actually I think it's like the zoo for Dolly Parton or something like that. So one of my favorite things, we always joke about
A
this, right?
zoo for Dolly Parton?
Yeah, so Dolly Parton like has like a zoo
I
like
know
slash
she has a
aquarium.
Dollywood or something.
So yeah,
I
it's like
didn't
yeah.
know there was a zoo there.
Yeah. So what's funny is that she and I will I love talking football with people, right? Just having great conversations about football. But she knows nothing about football. So when she says I talk to her, it's like having people talk about dinosaurs, which made me
Hmm.
think about Ross from Friends. And I was like, so every once in a while, she'll be like, "Hey, are you going to watch the big paleontology event that's going on today?" And I was like, "Yeah, 100%." Like, because that was her way. So our joke is like we talk about like what I was like, yeah, I heard that they're unveiling two new dinosaurs. They're going to be competing to see who's the best dinosaur. They're going to do a vote, and
We're
so
gonna watch it on Monday Night Ross.
yeah, Monday Night Raw. But it is funny to like listen to her like to talk about it because she's like, I know nothing what you're saying, and I know you're passionate about it because you're clearly talking about it, with like everything with a lot of joy. But she's like, I'm just not interested. So now she talks about it with me as in like dinosaurs, and I'm like, yeah, I
Yo,
I'm
it's really funny,
appreciative.
because I started hosting podcasts with Lou Marconi, Beef Stew Lou,
Yeah,
and I have two podcasts with him, the Stewcast Wrestling podcast, and we do a podcast called the Sunday Stew Pot, where the episodes drop on Sunday, but they only go on Rumble, and they're not on all the platforms. They're just on Rumble.
Mhm.
Um, he also he's from Cleveland, Ohio. Like Lou Marconi used to be a jobber in the WWF in the '90s. Like he put over like Bob Holly and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and stuff like that back in the day. Like he's an enhancement talent, as they call them now. But that's what he was back in the '90s, and we've become such great friends. But he also writes for the Cleveland Browns. Like he's a sports writer for the Cleveland Browns, and
Yeah.
he does like Fans First Sports Network. He does Burning River Browns Talk, and he does like uh, the Combat Zone. Right? He does a whole bunch of stuff regarding football, a whole bunch of stuff regarding the Cleveland Browns, and he talks. He tells me he can tell that when he starts talking about football, he watches me like completely get, and I'm like, it's not that I don't care, it's that I don't know, and it's I, like
Yeah.
I I grew up liking only wrestling, really.
Right.
Like not that I like only wrestling, but I'd say like my my main two sources of entertainment for me were one was never sports, it was pro wrestling and stand up comedy. Like and not just stand up comedy, just comedy in general, like comedy movies, SNL. I love comedy. Like there's just not, and then like, dude, I get so grateful all the time. And I think about how lucky I am to be born in this time that I can like look up any bit that's in my head. Like I could watch like any SNL sketch that's ever happened on YouTube. Like that because I have this like encyclopedic comedy and pro wrestling mind where like I just go like, all right, I remember this sketch from like 1992 SNL, and I can start talking about it and have songs memorized from it. Like I was I was on Saturday night. I was singing because Mike Myers is back on SNL playing
Right.
Elon Musk, and he's great. Mike Myers can do no wrong for me, but in the character he's doing whatever the faces that he was making and the actions he was doing, I was like, he's doing Simon. He's doing the character Simon that he used to do on SNL, but now for Elon Musk. But
Yep.
like, do you remember? Do you remember
Yeah.
Simon?
My
When
mom says
he's
I'm not allowed to have chocolate because it makes me
like,
go too fast. Yes, I remember Simon.
and he was like, "Are you looking at my bum? Are you looking at my bum? You bum looker, you cheeky monkey."
Oh no, because what was his character that was he was always tied to the playground. He did one skit with Nicole Kidman where like they were kids and she gave him chocolate.
Hmm.
That was that not? No, that wasn't. That's one of my favorites, like hands down, like Mike Myers next to Wayne's World. Like that's one of my favorites of all time. Where he's just like, Mom, he's like wearing a helmet and he's special needs, and he's like, yeah, my mom says I'm allowed to have chocolate because chocolate makes me move too fast, and then I just can't control myself. And then like she's like, you sure you don't want a piece? And he's like, all right, I'll have some. And then he just like snatches the whole thing, just like smears across his face, and he just
Simon was like a British kid who was hosting like a talk show in the bathtub, and
oh no, I do remember that one now. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Okay.
he would do drawings. Like, here's a picture of my bum. I drew a picture of my bum.
There was like so many. So it's funny because we can talk comedy all day because I'm a big comedy fan, and just like you, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Saturday Night Live, In Living Color, Who's on First, right? We can
Whose
talk
line is
about
it?
what's that?
Whose line is it anyway?
Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's a great show. Uh, but I mean, it's funny because I talk about my 5 favorite comedians, and it's like I tell people this all the time. All my favorite comedians are dead. Like they're dead, and it starts
Who?
with Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah, Mitch Hedberg's my number one favorite.
Yeah,
Um, uh, but I think about all the time how once again how grateful I am, how lucky I am that I got to see Mitch Hedberg live. in Philly
Yeah.
in 2005, like right before he died. Um, my my best friend Rick won tickets on Opie and Anthony on the phone. Like he called in on the radio and won tickets, like first row, front
Nice.
row. So yeah, it was one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah, him. George Carlin is another one. That's just
Okay.
he'll
Yeah,
always be a classic to me.
he's a
Um,
genius. He's less setup punchy like
yep,
like a Mitch is like a setup punch, setup punch, setup punch.
yep.
And I love the heavy punches, the heavy punchlines. And
Hmm.
George didn't really have a lot of punchlines.
Nope.
He just had
I guess yeah, for me, like I appreciate like comedy from like all
well, just
eras. Because what's funny too is like I guess to be fair, all but one are dead. Because Chris Rock is not dead, and when Chris Rock was doing his bigger, blacker, like oh my god, it was on point. And I do love Cat Williams, and the Pimp Chronicles 2 is like one of my favorites of all time. But like there goes Greg Giraldo as far as like insult comedians was just on point like all the time. And
Hey,
like
did
I
you
pull.
did you know that his son's in comedy now?
Oh wow,
Greg Giraldo Jr. He's really fun. He's a
yeah,
he's a he's a good guy. I had him on my podcast
nice,
a couple years ago now. He uh he worked at Five Guys, the cheeseburger place,
yeah,
and they gave him little hats that looked like MAGA hats at Five Guys. So just red hats that say Five Guys on them, and
yeah.
it looks like a MAGA hat. And he said he wears it all the time, and people always like shoot him dirty looks, and he's like, "Well, it says Five Guys. I don't know." Like, I'm
I
just representing my work.
but see, and that's the thing though, is like great so like great comedians also are like what great wrestlers do is they see what's in their surroundings and they use that to like either heat up or cool or like get a crowd on their side. And I think about that all the time where like I remember I so just to use perfectly this last weekend I was in Rhode Island and the fans didn't really know how to take me and so I hit this kid with a finisher and I was like, is this the best that you guys got? Because like this state and this kid, everything just comes up short. And like then the crowd just turned and was like, boo. And I was like, yeah, fuck your state. Like I didn't say it out loud, but they had like clearly had the attitude for it. But I was thinking about more stuff. And then as I'm telling this story to my friends this today, my friends were all like, bruh, you should have said like, you got all these taxes, still can't fix the potholes in these streets. No wonder why you guys are a bunch of bums. And like, I was like, oh my God, bro. Yes, keep feeding me all this stuff because I'm gonna use
Your
it.
roads, your roads, you think be better if the word road is in your state.
Yeah, no kidding. No wonder why this place is an island. There's no roads here that work properly. Rhode Island should be road broken. Like, I just think about like it's funny to see like how comedy and like the comedic world and like wrestling like kind of play into each other. I guess that's why like the New Day were like they still are like I don't care what anybody says, but they were over so well because they were just understanding pop culture and able to use it to like get people like to like them more because they're like yo like we also play Pokemon Go or we also we were just in Gears of War or we were just doing this or just doing that like and they were just keeping up with the time. And I think about a lot of wrestlers too that fail to do that to keep up with the time. Like they just kind of, flounder on like previous
Yeah.
acts.
Well, it's a lot of things, and the question I ask people a lot who are in the business, I say, what motivated you to want to do this, and what kind of wrestler did you want to be? Continue to think about that while you do it, because you didn't think you were going to be this type of wrestler forever. You got to have some growth. You got to have some idea, some direction, some goals,
Yeah.
and it's a thing. I think a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are kind of just going through the motions of like, oh, I have this event coming up. I've got to tick these boxes. I've got to do these spots. I've got to get these gift worthy things. I got to get these, like, instead of going like, I've got to take these people on a journey that I would have wanted to be on if I was them. Like, do you ever think, and this is a question I'll ask you, that I think I should have asked myself a long time ago. If you were a wrestling fan, would you pay money to watch you? This is a question I didn't ask myself until it was way too late. Like I was in the business for too long before I started asking myself that question, because I think I got a little bit uh, of a big head when I was younger. I had to hear people tell me I had to hear one person tell me the wrestling business was around a lot longer than you've been here, and it'll be around a lot longer after you're gone.
Yep.
Like you are just a tiny part of the existence of the wrestling business. So, you know, it's they tell you to be humble, and then they tell you to be larger than life. So it's like it's a strange dance. It's a strange thin line to walk.
Yeah. I think, and I asked myself, like, so it's funny because I have a like my book, and I'm always writing in my book, like, and I asked that question to myself, like, what would draw more audiences to me, right? So like I think about like the theme song, or and obviously I have my own theme song now, right? I think about the look, what attracts people to you, right? And I think about when I watch wrestling, like what attracts those wrestlers, right? So I look at someone like Swerve. Like Swerve has this great attitude, or he has this like no fucks given attitude, right? But he doesn't wear a lot of bright colors, right? But then I look at someone like Joe Hendry, who also wears bright colors, but he's very also, I want to be liked by everybody. Or I see, you know, he just turned heel. But John Cena, like, we used to make fun of his purple shirts, his red shirts, his green shirts, his blue shirts, right? But
You know,
people
like
people
The
were
Rock
attracted,
used to call them Fruity Pebbles in the
calling them
in
Fruity
the
Pebbles. Then he
right.
wore a black shirt right afterwards, so that he didn't look like a Fruity Pebble. But it's
But look who his alliance is with now. Look
yeah,
who he turned heel with, The
right.
Rock.
And I
The
think back to those moments though, and where I was going with is like as I add those elements to my character, I want people to be like, okay, so yeah, so he wears dark colors. He's really doesn't. He's more kind of going to be a heel. If he's wearing these bright colors, he obviously wants to be more of a baby face. We want to get behind him. So like, I don't want you behind me. I'm gonna wear black or darker colors so that way you're not, you know, not to. If I'm wearing these bright colors, there's going to be this. And then sometimes if I'm not even wearing like my normal gear, maybe I'm wearing like my fatigues, it's 50-50. We'll figure it out together. But like I want people to understand like, oh, so that's why he's wearing this gears, because you know today he's gonna be the baby face and he's gonna want us to get behind him, and then other days it's just, hey, no, like I don't care. Like
I can't remember what year this happened to me. I'm gonna guess that it was around 2009, 2010, something like that, where I was like, you know what? I'm no longer going to wear gear that I'm gonna show up to a show or an event or in a dressing room and have other people in the dressing room wearing the same stuff as me. So that's why all my stuff is custom, and
yeah,
it has my logos on it, it has my name on it. Like it's got my design, it's me. Like and I've been doing that since then. But before that I was just wearing whatever whatever stock thing, or like wearing like I was wearing like swim trunks for a while. I was wearing like I was just wearing like plain black pants for a while. Like I think probably early on too was probably because like I was uncomfortable with my body. I mean, I was a teenager, so like I don't want to be wearing tights as a teenager. Like it's bizarre. That's why I didn't want to join amateur wrestling, because that's what all it is. It's a bunch of kids in tights, and and why does anybody want to show up to see that? Like that's weird. Like it says something weird about the people who want to be around that.
right. Yeah, I mean, it
And
makes sense. It makes
I,
sense.
I was like, nah, not for me.
No.
So that's why I joined pro wrestling when I was 14, because it was like also back then that was when the Attitude Era was going on. So that was when the wrestling business was very hot, and I wanted to be a part of it. And you know, I thought I was a part of it. And, you know, I was like, "Hey, I'm in the business," but I was like definitely getting trained the wrong way. Uh, but you know, I found the right training eventually. But
Yeah.
like I I just it's a learning curve. It's a learning process. Every every new beginning starts with some other beginning's end.
Well, with that being said, listen, so on the show, I'm about to take this over to so when we play Now Ancient Ring, we have the 3 count podcast, 10 count questions, which here we have pin, submit, and DQ. So it's a lot like everyone's
It's
favorite game of
like marry F kill.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, 100%. So we're gonna pin, submit, DQ. I'm gonna give you 3. Could be wrestlers, could be superheroes, it could be randos. Okay, but you're gonna get 3. So I want to start this off with, let's go AJ Styles, The Rock, and Shawn Michaels. So yeah, pin 1,
Okay.
submit 1, and DQ 1.
DQ The Rock, only because he uses, or let me say, used more nefarious weapons and methods that would get him disqualified
Right,
while he was active than Shawn Michaels or AJ Styles.
right.
Um, was it
Yeah,
pin or submit?
yeah, pin or submit.
Um, I'd say I I would I would submit Shawn Michaels because he has he has a habit of reversing people's submissions and creating screw jobs
I like it. I like it.
and pin AJ Styles.
All right, all right, all right. So the next one that we're gonna do Turbo Man. We're gonna do Terminator, and we're gonna do Conan the Barbarian. Also, if you guys are trying to put the link together, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Of course, I know what you're talking about. Every guy our age knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say um, pin Turbo Man, disqualify the Terminator.
Yes, 100%.
You can't pin him. You can't pin him,
Nope.
and pin Conan. Conan. I said Conan because I watch Conan so much. I'm such a fan of Conan O'Brien. It's ridiculous. Going back to me being a comedy nerd.
I like it. I like it. All right. Our last 3 that we're gonna do, Jeff Ross. We're gonna do Joe Rogan, and we're gonna do, let's go Theo Vaughn.
Okay. All people who I think would be excellent guests on my podcast, Evolving,
100%.
available on all platforms. I would say disqualify Joe Rogan
100%. I'm thinking the same thing.
because, like, I don't want to fight the guy.
He's a real badass. Like, he's a real badass.
I'd pin Theo Vaughn and submit Jeffrey Ross.
Yep, I'd have to.
Yeah, because I think that's the order and how it would make the most sense.
100%. Yo, so that is pin, submit, DQ. So the last thing I need you to do is let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
So if I've brought any value to your day, if you thought I've been a good guest on Cliff's podcast, on the Red Dog podcast, now entering the ring, the 3 count, and you want to catch up, you can follow me on all social medias at Cory Kastle. If you're watching the video, it's spelled as if just as it's written right here on the screen, at CoryKastle on everything, at Cory Kastle on YouTube. Where you can find my podcast Evolving, but you could also find it on anywhere you stream your favorite platform for podcasts. Anywhere you subscribe to your favorite podcasts, you can find Evolving with Cory Kastle. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all the places. And dude, I reply to all my DMs. I mean, The only ones that I don't respond to are ones that I can tell are spam right away. But I'm gonna respond. I'm a real person. I'm not above reading your emails. If you ever feel like you're going through something and you just need somebody to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you want to ask me some questions, if you want to have some judgment-free conversation, just reach out to me and we'll talk.
Bad.
I'm always here.
Well, he told you where you could find him. He gave you where his podcast was. He even gave you his handles and told you that he responds to all his DMs. So what does that mean? Like every great part of a wrestling match, we got to take this home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering 201. And I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good show, but it's not about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there, the Paragon himself, Cory Kastle. And you guys know what
I used to call myself that on MySpace. I was called the Paragon Cory Kastle on MySpace.
For those who don't know,
I was reading this book called Creepers, written by the guy who wrote Rambo.
Yeah.
And it was about this hotel called the Paragon Hotel. And I was like, oh, I'm going to call myself that because it sounds cool. The Paragon, Cory Kastle.
But you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're subscribed to all of our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're leaving those 5-star frog splash reviews off of Mount Olympus. And then saying good things about us or bad things about us. Either way, we just like the fact that you're responding about us. You're listening to us on Amazon Music. You're even checking us out on that dumb app with the stupid jingle that goes iHeartRadio or whatever it is. You're following us on all of our social media platforms. You're even checking out our merch on foryourwear.com or prowrestlingtees.com. You're telling your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your best friends, and your enemies because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff or you're really just waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii.
Show's over.
What's up? It is your friendly neighborhood Red Dog, and thank you for checking out this episode of the 3 Count Podcast. Whether that was Chaz Friends, Red Dog Friends, Damien Friends, The Films Lounge, Now Into the Ring, Now Entering 201, or Now Returning to the Ring, all those great episodes, you should really be liking, commenting, and even sharing this with your friends, family, whoever it may be. But what you all should be doing is checking us out on all of our social media platforms at 3 Count Pod, whether that's on IG, Twitch, you check us out on Threads, whatever it may be. And if you go check us out on X, it is 3count_pod. Check us out on YouTube, as well as Facebook, on Rumble, on Apple Music, on Spotify, all those fun things. Tell your mom about us, your dad about us, your aunties, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and your best friends and your enemies because we love haters too. Do all that stuff. And then, last but not least, buy our merch on foryourwear.com or prowrestlingtees.com. Kawaii.